She climbed on her best friend's shoulders at a concert and laughed. "He's better than my boyfriend." So I walked away, packed her bags, and left her begging for a life she couldn't have back. My name is Leo. I am 33. I own a gym, and I have built my life around discipline, strength, and refusing to play games. For 2 years I was with Maya, a woman who thrived on drama and chaos, believing that stirring trouble made her seem more interesting. At first, I convinced myself it was just her personality, something wired into her, but over time it became painfully clear that it was a choice, a deliberate choice to be selfish and disrespectful. The core of our problems was a man named Eric, her so-called male best friend. I am not blind, I know attraction when I see it, and his eyes were always fixed on her with that hunger he tried to hide behind jokes. His hand was always on her arm, on her back, on her shoulder. About 6 months ago, I finally put my foot down. We had a fight that tore through our apartment like a storm. I told her plainly that I would not be the fool who pretends not to notice the obvious. I told her that either she put real distance between herself and Eric, or we were finished. She cried that night, swore up and down that he was just a friend, but she also promised me something important, that she would back him off and make our relationship her priority. For a time, it seemed like she meant it. The midnight texts stopped buzzing through our evenings. His presence at every meal disappeared, and I let myself believe that we were healing. But then came last Friday night, the concert that I thought would be a celebration of us. I worked my tail off to afford those tickets. It was supposed to be her dream date, a gesture to show how much she mattered to me. We walked through the gates and there he was, Eric, standing with that smug grin etched across his face. My stomach sank instantly. I didn't hide my displeasure. Maya rushed to defend him, claiming it was a total coincidence, that he had scored a ticket from someone else. But the smirk he flashed at me spoke louder than her words. This was not chance. This was a lie. The very promise that defined our future had been broken before the music even started. Still, I stayed. Maybe out of stubbornness, maybe because I had paid too much to leave without seeing the band. But from that moment on, I wasn't a date. I was just background noise to her and Eric's private show. They whispered, laughed, tossed around inside jokes, and made me feel like I was nothing more than the driver who got them there. When the headliner took the stage, the crowd pushed forward. Maya complained she couldn't see and asked me to lift her onto my shoulders. I reminded her of my bad back and suggested we move to the side. She gave me a pout that lasted 5 seconds before she turned to Eric with a sparkling smile. In an instant, she was on his shoulders, towering over me, while the crowd around us cheered like it was some grand romantic moment. And then she delivered the final blow. Looking down at me from above, she shouted loudly enough for everyone around to hear, "You're taller, way better than my boyfriend." The roar of laughter from strangers surrounded me. Eric smirked like he had won. And that's when the noise around me faded to nothing. The music, the shouts, the cheering. It all dissolved into silence. All that remained was a single truth. This was the end. I didn't yell, I didn't shove, I didn't beg. I simply smiled because at that moment, I was done. I turned my back and walked away. The crowd seemed to part for me without a word. The cool night air outside the venue wrapped around me like freedom. They were too busy relishing their cruel joke to even notice I was gone. That taxi ride home was pure relief. No more questioning my sanity. No more wondering if I was overreacting. By the time I stepped back into my apartment, my lease, my furniture, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I pulled out her expensive luggage and methodically packed every single one of her things. The closet, the bathroom, everything she owned was folded and zipped away until it looked like she had never existed there at all. By midnight, a row of suitcases sat by the door. When they finally stumbled back around 2:30 in the morning, laughing, probably expecting me to be waiting with open arms, they found the deadbolt locked. Her keys scraped uselessly, and then came the banging. She yelled for me to open up, but I stayed on the couch watching their pathetic attempts through the doorbell camera. Eric tried to shoulder the door like he was some hero and just bounced off like a fool. Eventually, she called my phone. I picked up calmly. She screamed that something was wrong with the door. I said, "Nothing's wrong. It's locked." When she demanded I unlock it, I simply said, "No, you don't live here anymore. You found someone better. Remember? Go live with him. Your bags are packed. Have a nice life." Then I hung up and blocked them both. Her screaming and his idiotic attempts to break the door continued until I finally shouted back through it, "Tell your boyfriend to ease up before he injures himself. You'll need him to carry your bags." Eventually, they left. I watched them disappear on the camera and felt a peace I hadn't felt in months. The next morning, I placed her luggage in the hallway, sent an anonymous text informing her where it was, and then went to the gym. When I came back, it was all gone. For the first time in a long time, so was the weight that had been sitting on my shoulders. The peace that settled over my life didn't last long, because when someone like Maya loses control of the narrative, they panic. By Monday morning, the lies began circulating. Suddenly, I was the jealous boyfriend who couldn't handle a joke, the violent monster who abandoned her at a concert and then threw her out in a rage. Her story spread like fire through our friend group, gathering sympathy from the gullible and whispers from the nosy. My phone buzzed with accusations from people who only knew her side. I didn't bother explaining to them. My true friends reached out directly, and when I told them the real story without drama or decoration, they understood immediately. As for the others, if they were foolish enough to believe her fantasy version, they were not people I needed in my circle anymore. But I knew it wouldn't end there. Eric's ego alone made it impossible for them to leave quietly. Sure enough, the following Saturday, just 1 week after that concert, they came looking for me. I was in my building's parking garage, loading new weights into my truck. Their car pulled up, blocking me in. Maya stepped out with tears streaming down her face, while Eric emerged with a look that screamed he wanted a fight. "Leo, we need to talk," Maya said, her voice trembling. "No, we don't," I replied, keeping my focus on the weights instead of on her. Eric stepped in closer, trying to play the protector. "Hey, she's talking to you. You're going to show her some respect." I finally turned to face him, my patience already razor thin. "This has nothing to do with you. Back off." "I'm not going anywhere," he shot back, moving into my space, his height a weapon he thought could intimidate me. "You humiliated her. You're going to apologize." I actually laughed, the sound echoing in the concrete garage. "Apologize? To you?" I tried to step around him, but that's when he shoved me hard in the chest. For a split second, I stumbled back, my muscles coiling tight. He demanded again, "Apologize." And that was it. Every lie, every smirk, every public humiliation. It all collapsed into that one moment. He put his hands on me, and my body reacted instantly. Years of training kicked in. One punch. A clean, short right straight across his jaw. It landed solid, and before I could even think about it, Eric was already crumpled on the ground. How cold. Silence echoed for a second, broken only by Maya's screams. "Oh my God! You monster! I'm calling the cops!" she shouted, fumbling for her phone. "Go ahead," I said calmly, shaking out my hand. "And when they arrive, I'll show them the security footage of your boyfriend assaulting me first. Let's see who they believe." She froze. Her eyes flitted from me, standing tall and unshaken, to Eric groaning on the pavement. And for the first time, I saw something new in her gaze: fear. That punch changed everything. It wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about ending the entire battle. She dragged him to his feet, tears streaking down her face, and shoved him into the car. They sped away, leaving only the echo of their tires behind. Their smear campaign lost its fire overnight because the truth had slipped into the cracks. People had seen her at the concert. People had heard what she said. And now the story of Eric getting knocked out cold only made him a joke, not a hero. A week later, the begging began. Texts from unknown numbers came through. Long apologies, excuses about drinking too much, claims that Eric was just a friend. I blocked each one. Then she showed up at my gym, her eyes hollow, her body language screaming desperation. I was in the middle of training a client. I walked her outside and told her point blank, You can't be here. Leo, please, she whispered, tears staining her face. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I know that now. Good, I said. Then you know why we have nothing to talk about. But I love you. I'll do anything. I told Eric I can't see him anymore. We can fix this. She reached out and grabbed my arm. There's just one thing. I knew that look, that entitlement she could never bury. What? I asked coldly. She took a breath, then said, You have to apologize to Eric. You really hurt him, and he was only defending me. If you just say you're sorry, we can move on. I stared at her, absolutely stunned. For 10 full seconds, I couldn't even process the sheer madness of it. She wanted me to apologize to the man she had betrayed me with, the same man who helped humiliate me in front of thousands, the same man who had just assaulted me. The absurdity was almost brilliant. I couldn't hold back the laughter. It tore out of me in deep, shaking waves until I was leaning against the wall wiping tears from my eyes. What's so funny? She demanded, confused and furious. You are, I finally said. You still think you're the prize here. You really believe you have any power left in this story. I straightened and looked her dead in the eyes. Get out, Maya. Don't ever come back. And no, I will not be apologizing to your boyfriend. I walked back into my gym, locked the door, and that was the last time I ever spoke to her. 6 months have passed since that night. Not a word from her, except the rumors that drift back from mutual friends. She and Eric tried to build something together, but without me as their common enemy, they collapsed. They imploded in public, screaming at each other in a bar until their relationship ended in embarrassment. Eric's reputation is permanently stained. People still whisper about how he got knocked out cold after trying to steal his best friend's girlfriend. His tough guy act became a punchline. As for Maya, she had to crawl back to her parents' house. Without me paying her bills, she couldn't keep her apartment or her lifestyle. She works a boring office job now, complaining to anyone who will listen about how unfair life is. She went from the queen of drama to just another face in a cubicle. A few weeks ago, I saw her one last time. I was on a date with someone new at a restaurant. When our waitress walked up, it was her. Her face went white, and within minutes she claimed she was sick and left. My date asked what that was all about. I just smiled and said, It's a long story. And it is a long story, but it's over. The best revenge wasn't the punch or the locked door, or even watching their lives crumble. The best revenge was walking off the stage of their chaos and leaving them to perform alone. Without an audience, their little act fell apart. They lost more than just a boyfriend that night. They lost the only person willing to put up with their games. And for people like them, losing the spotlight is a fate far worse than anything I could have planned.